want to talk to you about China. There are concerns that China is set to become increasingly aggressive on the world stage as fears mount over whether the country is gearing up to invade Taiwan. The Chinese Defence Minister declared in a fiery speech at a Singapore Security Forum that the country's military is ready to forcefully prevent Taiwan's independence. Roger, what's your reaction to this?
My reaction is that there's a lot of saber rattling going on by them, as there is obviously by President Putin. And that's essentially because they see how weak Joe Obama Biden is. His latest escapade of basically backing off, obfuscating his support for Israel and conflating the Israelis and Hamas as kind of equal combatants who should stop fighting, really was appalling and will be seen by China as just more weakness in the Obama and Biden camp. So they're going to push the envelope as far as they can. It's like the schoolyard bully who keeps, banging you a bit more every day to just see how far he can go. But I don't think he's going to break your nose in front of the teacher. I don't think that China will invade. I think they want to keep the cross-strait dialogue, which has been going on forever and is meant to result in the eventual one-day unification of China and Taiwan, going for as long as possible. There's a number of reasons why I don't think they'll invade, despite what everybody's saying and how it looks in World War III, blah, blah, blah. Number one, I think, is that China takes comfort in what's called the One China policy, which is that Taiwan is part of China. Taiwan belongs to China. They aren't two separate countries. Now, Australia, the United States, United Kingdom, a lot of other countries acknowledge but don't accept or approve, talk about weasel language, the One China policy. So they're basically saying, okay, you claim it's your country. We're not going to argue with you about it right now. They don't say they accept it. They don't say they approve it, but what they say is they're not going to oppose it. So that means that China can take comfort in that isn't identified like Russia by the international community as a bad actor. Second factor is that Taiwan has got a ruddy, massive defense capability. You don't want to mess with them. Thirdly, an invasion across the Taiwan Strait is no easy feat. Fourthly, there's no beaches to land on. Where the hell do you land? It's a real problem. And I think, money always talks. And I think the main thing is semiconductors and chips and superconductors. Taiwan is where they're made. And if that were to be disrupted and those factories damaged or closed or into the wrong hands, the world economy would fall apart, and China's automotive industry, electrical appliance, just about everything, internet would be affected. So China can't afford that to happen more than anyone else can. So I think those are the reasons at the end of the day that they won't attack.
I suppose that is comforting that we're not going to be, in your view, seeing an attack anytime soon. I want to speak to you about Israel. It's been 243 days since Hamas terrorists attacked Israel. And of course, it's just so important that the world does not forget about the hostages who are still in captivity. We have heard from one Israeli woman, Lishay Lavin-Miran, who shared this clip on X saying that she is still waiting for her husband and her daughters are still waiting for their father. Roger, how is it that these hostages have not been able to come home yet?
I'm so sorry. I just have to say one word because I don't want to mislead our viewers about China. I was just going to add that Taiwan needs to play the game as well. China has made it very clear if Taiwan makes a declaration of independence, they will invade. So, if Taiwan does push things, that could happen. As far as the hostages go, it's just amazing. One is hearing reports these days, recently in the past week, about the massive number of Muslims killed in wars and battles in other countries, and nobody's out on the street protesting about it. Nobody's complaining about it. Nobody's demonstrating. 600,000 people killed by Assad, and 600,000 Muslims, and these terrible figures. And they're all talking about the hostages. They're all talking about the Gazans and the Palestinians who, seem to be held in position by Hamas and used as human shields, and that's the reason for the casualties. The aid coming in is being stolen and sold by Hamas instead of distributed, apparently. And, they're just behaving absolutely appalling, but, nobody talks about the hostages. It's unbelievable. And you have all these world leaders at the UN and all these places in the ICC. We want a ceasefire right now, but they don't mention the hostages. And how can anybody begin a conversation for a ceasefire with an enemy that says they're going to kill you the next day? So the whole thing is just bewildering.